Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Joe's Technology. I'm Joe, and today I'm looking at Zorin OS 8 Core 64. Now you may recall I've looked at Zorin before. I looked at version 7, and for Zorin's focus, it's a Linux distribution which aims to be extremely friendly to Windows users who may potentially want to come over to the Linux community. Now, why would anyone from Windows want to come over to Linux? Well, this year, 2014, is a fork in the road. Microsoft has decided to finally cut off the Windows XP users who have held on to their computers for over a decade. I mean, the machines still work and people are still happy with them. And the later versions of Windows didn't offer anything compelling enough to get those people to stop using them. So Microsoft is trying to force them to upgrade and buy more copies of Windows and buy new PCs by cutting off their support, leaving them vulnerable to hackers. Yeah, I'm shaking my head. This is bad business sense. And at the same time, just to to herd people towards Windows 8, in 2014 we'll also see the cessation of the availability of the OEM version of Windows 7. So Microsoft's going to cut off everybody's avenues for all the OSs that they like and leave them with the only choice as Windows 8. Not a recipe for success, but big surprise, the CEO of Microsoft and the chairman have both been forced out. So perhaps the incoming CEO and incoming chairman will have a different strategy, but I'm not holding my breath. So here we have Zorin. As you can see, you can download this ISO off the Zorin website. When you go to their website, as a matter of fact, here we can go there now. They have a little, by the way, it starts off with Google Chrome, which is the preferred browser, which is fine. Funny that it doesn't open directly to the Zorin website, but here, let's see. Zorin, and so it's zorinos.com. It's the very first thing that pops up. As you can see, it detected my network with no problems, and even though I'm running on a live CD and nothing is installed to this hard drive, Zorin is running with no problems. It runs that quickly. So if you're curious as to whether or not Zorin would be a good fit for your computer, probably the easiest thing to do would be to put it burn it either to a disk or a USB, stick it in there and boot it up. If it boots up and it detects everything, you probably got a winner. To be honest, I haven't had an occasion yet where Zorin didn't detect everything. Yeah, because a lot of the equipment is very, very generic now, and the driver support is very good. So as you can see here, you can get it. There's the free, the premium. The premium editions of Zorin just have more stuff that's available. And here, let's see. Yeah, when you come up here, it says, hey, if you want to support us, can you send us a few dollars and donate some money, and we'll get you this other version, which is fine. In my case, I wanted to try it out, so I just picked up this free version, which is what you're seeing demonstrated now. So that's why this is called the Core. And there's two versions that they have up available. The last one that I looked at was Zorin 7, which was one of the experimental ones, and this one is too. Zorin OS 6 is the actual LTS, the long-term support release. So, if you're a Windows person, you'd like to be able to just pick an operating system that you could keep and use for a very long time and support for years and years and years, always look for the LTS. But the Linux community is always coming out with new innovations, and that's why we have these other versions that allow us to try out new technologies and throw them out there on the world. I mean, they're free, they don't cost anything, so there's no guarantee that they work. Although, in the Linux community, what they call, stable and experimental, these experimental OSs often are just as, if not more, stable than what you're used to in the Windows world. When I came over to Linux and the machine just doesn't crash anymore and I just don't get viruses anymore, after a while you look back on it and you say, why did I ever put up with that? Well, enough of my ranting. This is where you would go. You just go to get it and free if you wanted, just to get the free version, and you can click Zorin OS 8, which is what I'm demonstrating now. So as you can see, it's easy to bring it up. It already comes with applications. You can run it right off of a USB in case you want to try it out and you weren't sure that you wanted to commit a computer to it. It comes with an Office package already built in. So, if I sit there and, typically people usually have reasons to write documents at home, kids in particular. Everybody wants to submit electronic homework now or print it out, and the schools don't care which Office package you wrote it on. You'll hear people who bemoan and say, "Oh, is it compatible with Microsoft Office?" Well, who cares? Yes, LibreOffice can read Office documents, and as a matter of fact, it also comes with spreadsheets, and you can put together databases. As a matter of fact, I was thinking of making a whole series just demonstrating all the features. Here, for anybody who's familiar with Excel, you'll recognize some of these formulas. Blah blah blah, and then I'll just say equals sum. If you're an Excel person, you know what I'm doing here. Just to show you that the formulas are not arcane, this is about what you would expect from Excel, except that this doesn't cost anything. In fact, Microsoft is going to a trend towards what's called Office 365. They probably got this bad idea from Adobe. Adobe doesn't sell disks anymore. You used to buy a package from them of pardon me, of software, and you pay your fee, and then you'd have it. Now Adobe requires you to pay a monthly fee, like a light bill, otherwise your software starts working. And their security is so fantastic that after they suckered a lot of people into signing up for that, they let all their credit cards get stolen. Don't do things like. You can do all these things for free. You can do them with Zorin. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll close. There's nothing really worth saving. So, as I said, just with Microsoft Office, we have a word processor. In this case, this is our spreadsheet. This would be akin to PowerPoint. I see that they don't have the database in here, but there's also one which is an Access counterpart, and you can download that separately. In fact, maybe we can go ahead and do that here in a minute. So here, I'll go ahead and install Zorin. Installing it is as easy as clicking on the icon. Oh, you know what? This is probably going to come up with all that stuff again. Zorin usually has some music and some other silly stuff that pops up. Alright, as you can see, it asks for a little bit of hard drive space, and it prefers that you're connected to the internet. That helps it to detect your hardware, find if you've got some drivers. In my case, I'm not going to try to install Zorin next to another operating system. I'm going to just say this is the easiest option. Erase the disk and install Zorin. That way I don't have to worry about, oh no, am I overwriting something? Did I split my partition correctly? It's just easier. Oh, and the nice thing is that Zorin doesn't require really all that many resources. You could probably put this on an older computer. So if you've got an old machine that's sitting in the corner, tell me if this sounds familiar. You bought a computer. It came with Windows. The computer ran fine for a year, maybe two. Then one day it died. And surprise, to your shock and horror, that computer never came with an installation CD for your operating system. So even if you wanted to reinstall Windows, you can't. Not unless you find the media from somebody else. And then Microsoft doesn't want to sell you the media anymore because they say, we'll just buy Windows 8. So you have a fully physically working computer whose OS is corrupt and dead. And they don't want to give you the software. Alright, enough ranting. Okay, by default, it chooses English United States, which is fine for me since I'm here in the continental United States. I'll just put Joe, and I'll choose a password. Zorin gives me a little feedback as to how good my password is, and gives me a little check mark acknowledging that both of the passwords I've supplied do match. I want to require the password on login, that way my computer is more secure, people can't just walk up to it. And here we go with the little welcome thing. Now this is why I turned down the sound incidentally. Normally I think there's a little music that goes with it. Let's see if it's here. Whoa, that answered that question. Yeah, Zorin has a nice little show to entertain us as it's installing the files. Welcome to Zorin. What I really like about Zorin is as I said, for Windows users, this should seem very familiar. Anyone who, I could probably put this on a computer and sit my mother down in front of it, and my guess is that she wouldn't have any trouble with it. I mean, she's using Linux Mint these days, but I think she would like Zorin too. Oh, and then Zorin takes a moment to tell us about their App Store. So, the most important thing about a computer is the software that it runs. You could have a fantastic computer and a fantastic operating system, but if nobody writes software for it, it's going to die. Let's think of operating systems like BOS or OS2 Warp, just to name a few. I mean, they were okay for their times. Those were operating systems that just weren't successful. They didn't get enough traction in the market. Linux, on the other hand, is spreading across the world and growing every day. And why? Well, because everything that I'm demonstrating to you, for one thing, is free. The way things are, everything costs money, and if you can save a few dollars, this really helps. Now, and particularly if you're a small business, the ones that I think that this benefits the most is I've worked with small businesses. It'll be a small office, maybe like an accounting firm or some small factory, and they have 20 or 30 computers, and these machines have been running forever, day and night. And it doesn't matter to them that they're not the latest, the greatest, the snazziest. They just have to work. Production must continue in order for the job to get done. And in many cases, their applications are all web-based too. So it doesn't matter that they got to the web application using a browser that ran on Linux versus Windows. These are the easiest offices, by the way, to convert over. So once you show them, hey, you can have this operating system, it's free. You don't have to worry about viruses anymore. Suddenly they're very, very interested in Linux because it doesn't cost them anything. Some people will point out, they'll say, well, Linux takes a lot of time to learn. Well, what, you think Windows 8 didn't require people to get some retraining? If you have to completely relearn how to use a computer, you can learn something else. Although this is pretty close. As you can see, we're already done. I wanted to show all the screens and the time that it took so that you had a realistic view of how long this takes. So here, let's go ahead and restart. Okay, let's see. Should take just a moment. Oh, take the media out of the tray. Whoops. Alright, now that we have Zorin installed on our hard drive, it's time to fire it up. So here's what our initial screen looks like. I'll just go ahead and let it take the default. The pulsing Z, that's actually something, for some reason I really like that. Z for Zorin. So here we are, we're booted off the hard drive and everything is ready. As you can see, I have both a guest session, so and you can turn that off, of course, and then my session. Of course, the guest session doesn't have the ability to perform administrative functions. So if you wanted to allow family members or children or whatever to use this to browse the web, write reports for school, things of that nature, that would be the way to go. Just let them be a guest. Or you could create an individual account with their name on it where they'd be able to save their documents. Just as with Windows, we have a nice little home folder. So, I mean, all of this should be real simple for a person coming from the Windows world to be able to navigate. You have downloads, they'll go there. You have documents, they'll go there. You have your desktop, your home stuff, video, and other items. Again, Chrome is our default browser, and but we can always put something else in. In fact, here, let's see. What can we put in here? Just as a test. Here we go. This is the Software Center. So here we'll grab a bit of software just as a test. Oh, also I had heard that, let's see, where would they put it? I had heard that there was a new little changer here that allowed people to change the system around. The Zorin theme changer. I'd heard about this. So here, let's go dark. I'm kind of a dark theme person because I sit here in the dark, and hence the glow in the dark keyboard. You'll see it in some of my other videos. So for me, this is more appealing. So with one click, I can take the dark theme, and all this stuff is not quite as bright. I can see this as being pretty good. I'm actually thinking about. I was planning on building a little PC for, you know, to do all the silly jobs, uploading videos to YouTube. Some of them take a while. I had one video today that, oh my gosh, the only way to get the full motion video at the resolution that I wanted was to make it an uncompressed video and leave YouTube to do the compressing. So we're talking 55 gigs. That's going to take a while for that to upload. I don't want to tie up my big main workstation with its 750 watt power supply uploading to YouTube. So I'll build a little computer to sit in the corner and do silly things like that. That doesn't use hardly any juice at all. Let's see. And let's see, there are Libreoffice Components. As you can see, it's showing the little check marks next to the ones that I have already. Waiting for all the stuff to come in. Come on. Because there's one in particular. When we were looking earlier, remember we noticed that the one Office component that I didn't see here was the database. So I'm looking to see if we can see it. I'm just waiting for these titles to zone in. I guess my internet connection's a little slow. I've got some other machines that are downloading stuff, so my ISP is probably getting upset at me again. I'm going to take a wild guess. Let's see. Oh, I guess that's not it. You know, maybe I just need to update my video drivers. It looks like it's all here. It's just not displaying quite correctly. Okay, I don't think this is Zorin's fault. This has got to be... because normally Zorin is fantastic. Here, let me put the theme back. Oh, whoops, wrong thing. If you're coming from Windows XP, you can actually change the Zorin to look more XP-ish. So if you're an XP user, you might notice this menu looks a little bit more familiar than the Windows 7 theme that I was using before. Or you could just use the GNOME Classic one. But here, I'll leave it on Windows XP. As you can see, it flips back and forth on these things pretty effortlessly. That's one of the things that's really in Zorin's favor. Oh, and it even changed all our menus in order to be more XP-ish. Alright, so where was it? This is actually the first time I fired up Zorin 8, so you know what, maybe I'll put it back the way it was. I hate to... here we go. Alright, yeah, like I said, it changed the XP menus. Alright, theme changer, Zorin Light. There we go. You know what? As I mentioned, Zorin 8 is an experimental release. So I guess the Software Center isn't quite up to the using the dark theme, which sadly is the one that I prefer. But, well, alright. Maybe the next stable release will have that fixed, or after a few updates. I'm sure they'll work it out. It's free software after all, so you can't go wrong. Alright, I'll go ahead and I'll leave it on the light theme and endure everything. So, here we go. And Libre 4 Base. So Base is what LibreOffice calls its database utility. Oh, and see, they sell some books, and it shows the prices if something's not free. Well, in this case, I just want the database program itself. So now that I can see my stuff, oh, and it prompts me for my administrator password. Again, this prevents people from sitting at your computer when you've walked away and installing things, you know, kids, family members. And if you're considering this for business, as an IT department, you'll appreciate an operating system where your users can't make unexpected modifications to the system. And like I said, the great part is here you can have all the basic software you need to get started for free. Plus, there's all kinds of things in this software center. Pardon me. And ta-da! It's here. So now I can close the software center. Go back to my, let's see. Oh, that's right. We're still on the XP menu. Here we go. Office. Now Base got added automatically to the Office section. So, I mean, I deal with databases a lot. There's always a need to store information in one way or another. Create new database. Oh, well, I won't go through the whole database procedure. I was actually thinking of, I just want to make sure that it does come up and work. I'm actually planning on making a series of videos on LibreOffice specifically, because many people have heard of it, but the first question they ask is, does it do what I want to? You think about it, most people probably don't use half the features of Microsoft Office. You want to be able to write a document, you want to be able to spell check, you want to be able to put a picture on there, you want to include a video in your PowerPoint presentation. Well, they call it Impress in LibreOffice. And Libre does all those things, but it does it for $0. Okay, so this has been Zorin OS 8 Core 64. Oh, remember the difference between 64-bit and 32-bit is the amount of memory that you can address. So if your computer has over 4 gigabytes of RAM, you want to get the 64-bit version. You could still run it on a machine that has 4 gigabytes or less if you just wanted to be able to take advantage of 64-bit software. But in particular, that's really what it's for, is to be able to address more memory. If you have an older machine with 4 gigs or less, you can run the 32-bit version. And as you can see, you have the option of, here, let's see, we'll go back here. By the way, although there are only 3 looks presented here, if you buy those the premium version of Zorin, it will come with more of these. This Zorin look changer is exclusive to Zorin. So other versions of Linux don't have this. Okay, so now we're back to the Windows 7 look. I have to admit, Windows 7 is the Windows that I've been using most frequently, so I get lost on the XP menus. It's been a long time. But like I said, this is a worthy successor for Windows. If you're running a small business, if you don't have a need to throw away your computers, and you just cannot have Microsoft abandoning you to all the virus makers and people who want to take advantage of you, consider Linux. With Windows 8, you have to retrain your staff, you have to buy new equipment. My guess is that most people that you sit down in front of this that have been long-time Windows users, oh, by the way, you can change what your default homepage is. So, say for example, you're used to, you can make this, here, let's see, where is it? I'm just right-clicking here, and I know there's a button around here that, I see I don't use Chrome normally either. There should be a make as my homepage. Ah, curses. Well, this is what happens when I show it to you live. I'm sure it's in there someplace. Or you could just download Firefox and get whatever it is most familiar to you. I'm guilty. I use Firefox a lot, so as a matter of fact, I'll probably do that. But you've got all the good stuff here. Oh, it comes preloaded with Wine. If you have some Windows applications that you need to drag with you, say for example, a lot of small businesses are using like Peachtree County and things of that nature. You could probably fire it up and use it within Wine. Wine is not an emulator. It has the ability to run the stuff in the system without emulation, so you can run pretty much at full speed. It doesn't run everything, but it runs most things, and there are tutorials where people can help you with any particular applications that you may be having problems with. Okay, games. This is the easiest way to get kids on your side. It only comes with a couple of games initially, but that software center, well, here, let's go back to it just to give you an idea. Kids like games. Some are free, some cost money. Although these days, if I was going to pay money for a game, you know what? I think I would just buy them from Steam. Steam's games are going to look so much better and some of Steam's games are like $5, $10 for incredible games. Versus, I do like supporting the Linux community, but some of these prices might just be a little too high with someone like Steam coming into the market. Oh, speaking of Steam, ta-da! Steam is free. So you can get the Steam client downloaded and installed on this computer. And if you already have a Steam account, oh, well, by the way, one last thing. I know, this is probably my most disorganized podcast ever. One thing that I've noticed about Steam is that if you purchased a game, like, I'll give you an example, Left 4 Dead 2. I bought that from Steam. That's owned by Valve. Valve decided, you know what, we're going to go back and we're going to make all of our games that we created and port them over to Steam, which is a few. More than a few. And what I noticed is that they didn't make me buy the game again in order to play it on Linux. One day it was just available for Linux, and I just downloaded it again on a Linux computer that I'd set up with the Steam client, and presto, I was ready to game on Linux. And if you've been watching the news about the Steam box, this is a great way to take a PC, plug it into your big television. Sure, you could do it with Windows, but I think the Steam OS is probably going to do a better job. Okay, sorry, this is my I'll probably end up having to make a more succinct version of this. I did it again. This is Zorin OS 8, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please like and subscribe if you did.